But one day, a single word came into my brain and it let all the water out. And you know what that word was, Curtis?
Was a word.
Stewardship.
One of the things that the subconscious mind needs to allow the energy to actually move through it is a learning.
It's the old saying, if you pursue happiness, you'll never find it. Happiness rests where you never look. It's in difficulty.
Whatever we're going through, it might not be fun, but we can find joy in it. With my coaching, it's the legit mindset, is the fact that it's all about learning, growing, expanding, and transforming. And guess what? It never stops.
I'm going to use a saying that I can't remember who said this, but the saying was, I once went out to change the world, and now I'm wise and I'm going to change myself.
If you need to cry, cry. If you need to scream, scream. Whatever you need to do and allow the energy to move through you, you just do whatever you have to do. Welcome to the Legit Mindset Podcast, Failures, Lessons, and Breakthroughs. I'm your host, Curtis McCullom, certified clinical hypnotherapist and the founder of Bespoke Human Potential Coaching and the creator of the Legit Mindset. You know, here we dive into some deep stories, some real stories, some challenges and comebacks where leaders share their setbacks that shaped them and the growth that followed. Because this is the real thing, guys. Because real success isn't about avoiding failure. It's about transforming through it. And this is the Legit Mindset. Today, I'm joined with Scott Lackey. I'm telling you, this guy we've been talking and just getting to know each other. And some people you just appreciate because who they are. That's how I feel about Scott. Scott, he's an Army vet, which is always great. Thank you for serving. And he's a patented inventor. He's an Iron Man. Oh, my God. He's an author. He's a speaker, and he's a columnist. But he says most important to him, which is definitely near and dear to my heart, is his family. You know, he's been married for over 28 years. He has a son and he has a daughter. And Scott, man, it's really exciting to be with you today. But, like everything else, everyone has what they come to the show and they tell the unfold challenges, right? And so we appreciate the conversation. We appreciate the fact that you're here to talk about not only the highlights of what you're doing with your book and stuff of that nature, but we're going to talk a little bit about the moments that shaped them and the awareness that follow and how real growth really takes place on the other side. Scott, welcome to the show.
Well, Curtis, that is a gracious and shining introduction, and I thank you very much for that. And I'm glad you started the podcast that way, because one of the things I talk about when I do speak to men or women or groups, and they ask, tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'll go through some of the very things that you brought up: the Iron Man, the columnist, the Army veteran, he's been to Iraq, all that stuff. But they're surprised when I tell them, and I mean this with great sincerity, you can keep all of it. Right. You can keep all of it. You can, and I don't mean that disrespectfully to all those things. Those things
Right.
shaped me to who I am. But the one thing that I have learned, especially in the last 10 years of my life as a man, as a dad, as a father, is if it's not about the priority of taking care of my family and making sure my wife is taken care of and she's supported and my son and daughter are taken care of and they're supported. My son's 25, my daughter's 23, still call us mom and dad. My wife and I still tell each other every time we're departing from each other, we say, I love you.
There you go.
And so that's what's important. I appreciate you mentioning that because that's really at the end of the day where it's all at.
That is. I mean, people don't realize, I've been fortunate to be married for 35 years, 35 years this past March. And, and even in the marriage itself, I think you might agree or not, is that it's something that you have to make a decision. That, hey, we're going to work this out and we're going to be together. One of the things that me and my wife talked about when we first got married is that we'll never be separated. And what I mean by that is that regardless of what goes on during the day, at the end of the night, we're both going to get in the same bed.
Yeah.
Period. And we've done that for the last 35 years, regardless of, we might have a knockout, drag out conversation, heated conversation, but
Yeah,
at the end of the night, we back in the bed together. Why? Because of the fact that, to me, is that any type of separation is separation.
that's
I'm
right.
going to my bed. No, 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 no. We get in the same bed, and by morning we do the same thing. We're doing the cuddling. We're doing
Yeah,
the same. So hey, here we go. There we go. But that's not how we here today, man. So tell us a little bit about you. I know you talked about it, some of the highlights, but
right.
that made who you are. So take a moment and kind of let the audience get to know Scott like I've gotten to know Scott.
I appreciate that question. I'm going to answer that question this way, that my life is a mirror really of a book that I wrote. It publishes next month, May the 14th. And the title of the book is Wake Up to Die Again.
Mm,
And I want to approach that two ways to describe how I got here today. There are people, Curtis, that you and I both know, your audience knows. Maybe we're talking to somebody right now. They wake up every day, Curtis, just to die again.
yeah.
And we know 'em, and they don't know the way out. Conversely, and again, I lived a life like that when lightning struck my life more than once. There's another side of us that in time we hope to achieve. And that achievement is where we're at peace with ourselves because we know who we are and we've reconciled those differences. And I don't need other people's permission. I don't need a possession. I don't need a trip. I don't need anything to make myself happy. And that's a whole nother powerful attribute of being a strong leader, a strong father, a strong husband, is that when you can be at peace with yourself and still be that strong person that needs to step in when bad things happen or be vulnerable when someone needs help. And how I got here today is not through one single event, it's been a series of events.
Right.
Whether it's been a lightning strike moment in my life when I was just getting ready to graduate from high school, that my parents told me I had three choices when I got out of high school. You can go to college, go to college, or go to college. You just let us know which one, and they're not in any priority.
Not in the
Yep,
priority, huh?
not in any priority. You just pick. And I said, well, I'm going to need a couple of weeks to figure that out.
Okay.
And 2 weeks went by, and I came back and told my dad, I've got it figured out. He said, which college are you going to? So I'm going to go in the United States Army. My mom started crying. My dad said, son, that's going to be good for you. All right. So that was a lightning strike in a place again early in my life, and I didn't
Right.
understand what all of that meant. But there've been a series of those in my life where I've seen the mountaintops of great achievement of things that I've accomplished, whether it's the accomplishment of the Ironman or getting actually having a patented product that was funded by a private equity firm for $3 million. A lot of those achievements. Writing a book was an enormous achievement, but earlier in my life, when I thought I had made it, Curtis, when I literally thought that I was on the path to achieving every dream that I ever had, what I actually found out is that nothing was there when I got there, and it was an absolute collapse. And
Wow.
when that absolute collapse happened, then I had to reconcile the same thing we all do as men and women. Your journey is not my journey. But when the collapse happens, when the X and the Y axis cross each other and you're standing in it, you're going to have to answer the question, who am I? How did I get here? And what am I going to do?
Absolutely. I mean, when you talk about that, the journey, I love the fact that you mentioned the journey. And that's kind of what I always share with my clients is that number one, this is your journey. And regardless of where you are on this journey is okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes people try to think like, oh my God, this is my journey is worse than your journey. Well, no, not
No,
really.
it's just
And
your journey's your journey.
your journey is your journey. But you said something earlier. I kind of want you to rewind a little bit and talk about it. I think you said you live again to die
I said,
again.
wake up to die again.
Okay, you say you wake up to die again. That's kind of profound because and interesting at the same time. So I want you to kind of elaborate what do you mean by
Sure.
waking up to die again for the
Sure.
audience and for me because that was really intriguing.
Yes, sir. It has two meanings in the context that I'm using it,
Okay.
right? One meaning is that there are millions. right now listening to this. Maybe not millions listening to this, but millions of people. Okay. Millions of
We hope
people.
that's the goal.
Yeah. After this podcast, it's going to be millions. No,
There you go.
but, but no, there are millions of people that are waking up every day just to die again. And I mean that figuratively, clearly, but
Right.
they're miserable.
Yes.
They hate their job. They may hate the relationship they're in. They may hate that they're addicted to alcohol. They may hate that they're battling a diagnosis that they shouldn't have because their life was going to go left, not right.
Right.
There is something going on. Matter of fact, they could just be numb. Just nothing excites them anymore because they're lost. And that's what I mean in one sense is that there are millions of people who wake up every day just to die again.
Right. Right.
And you interact with some of them and in your coaching, in my speaking, in my writing, my interaction with people is I love to get in the hole and to help them find the way out because I've been there on more than one occasion. That's one side of the
Absolutely.
coin.
Yes.
The other side of the coin is that when you wake up to die again, it's a gift. Every morning when I wake up, I don't care what's going on in my life. I wake up in the morning with a smile on my face, thankful that I have my health. Thankful I get to breathe air into my lungs and I'm awake again. Thankful I get to tell my wife in the morning I love you, right? Thankful I get to go out and do Ironman, or triathlon workouts, right? And that's just two different spectrums. One is going out and putting yourself into environments that require you to suffer
Right.
because it's the old saying, if you pursue happiness, you'll never find it. Happiness rests where you never look. It's in difficulty.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
to wake up to die again and to go pursue that, I find happiness in that, right? I find happiness putting myself in those difficult situations. So I describe it as those two different ways. I hope that draws a giant circle to jump in the middle of.
Hey, no, that's beautiful. I love it. What happens is, I tell people this. I was a pastor about 4 years, and one of
Okay, I
the
didn't know that.
yeah, I was, and one of the things that kind of draw me to what you just said is this. There's a passage in the book of James. He says, "Count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing
Yeah,
this, the trying of your faith worketh patience, but let patience have a perfect work." What he's saying is that whatever we're going through, we don't have to. It might not be fun,
yeah,
but we can find joy in it. In the
yeah.
fact that when we're going through something, that's an opportunity for us to learn something so that we don't have to repeat the same old thing over and over and over again.
Or
And
if it occurs again, because
yes.
life likes to come back and
Oh,
remind you of
yeah.
some
Oh,
things,
yeah.
you're going to treat it completely differently.
Totally
If you
different.
Yeah,
And that's the whole idea. I mean, that's
yeah,
part of what we even talk about in with my coaching is the legit mindset is the fact that it's all about learning, growing, expanding, and transforming. And guess it never stops.
it never stops. It's
It
the
never
infinite game.
stops.
Yep,
It's never stopped because once you learn something, you're going to grow, you expand, you transform. Guess what? The cycle starts all over again.
that's correct. That's
The
correct.
next morning, you live again, right? Like you said, you live to die again. But it's like for me, when I think about it, I did a podcast a few weeks ago. My wife inspired it called the two hands.
Mm,
On one hand, because we lost our son 5 years ago.
okay.
On one hand, we can have gratitude for the time we spent with him. On the other hand, we feel the sadness for him not being here.
Yep.
So we have to be able to balance these two hands, and
Because
it's
they're both
okay.
true.
Both true. And
Yep.
guess what? We could be laughing in one sentence and then crying in the next, and that's
One
okay.
1000%, man. Most people don't. Most men especially don't realize this is that, you know, they hate to cry, right?
Right.
And I had a bank president one time crying in his hands about some things that he was in trouble for, and I told him in that moment, I said, when you're crying right now, you're the closest to being the real person inside than you are 5 minutes ago,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. What my one of my sayings, Scott, is it's okay not to be okay.
yes, sir.
But it's not okay to pretend that you're okay and you're not.
That's right. That's just a
So
disaster in the making.
I mean, I say, if you need to cry, cry. If you need to scream, scream. Whatever you
Yep.
need to do, and allow the energy to move through you. You just
Yeah.
do whatever you have to do.
Yeah.
So let's get back. Let's get back
Yep.
to so now. What was one of the biggest setbacks
Sure.
that you've experienced that you came through it to make you who you are today?
Yeah, I'm gonna go through one that brings my wife into the equation. I
Okay.
actually my second invention was a product called a childhood health passport, and that idea actually came to me. This was again, it came to me. I didn't do anything with it when it came to me. I was scared of it when it came to me, but it came to
Right.
me sitting in a neonatal care unit as a medical sales rep in Fort Worth, Texas, at a children's hospital on a Friday night. I was asked to come back to bring some supplies, some temperature sensors, and I'm sitting in a rocking chair. They handed me a little preemie baby that was I could hold in one hand, and I'm sitting in this quiet neonatal intensive care unit listening to the machines beep and this fully formed thought, as far as I'm concerned, and I write about this in my book, God placed a thought in my brain. It wasn't details, it was like an image, but understood the image, and it
Right.
was a childhood health passport. And that's how I got the idea. And I have to tell you that because I went home and I told my wife that night, or well, later on, I said, this is what I'm going to do. And it got very difficult in the family because they thought I'd lost my mind. Right? But I was like, This is what I'm going to do." And I mean, it really did get difficult. Well, fast forward, it did well enough that a private equity firm funded the business plan for $3,000,000. And Curtis, when I tell you that I hit the financial lottery, I hit the financial lottery. The very next day after I saw the money in the account, my wife and I and the management team, we were on flights to Cancun, Mexico to live it up for 4 days because we hit the lottery.
There you go.
I can tell you all about the boats I was gonna buy and all kinds of things, okay? I'm telling you this just to hype it up a little bit because 6 months later, Curtis, I sat in a boardroom with that private equity firm, and they told us we're gonna turn right. And I said, "You don't have the power to do that. I'm the president of the company. I was the founder of this idea. We're gonna
Right.
continue straight." And that was when they taught me the difference between power and control. I had the power to say it.
Right.
They had the control to say, "You are fired. Get your stuff and leave."
Wow.
And they took the business from me, and I was left with nothing but a bunch of personal guarantees and nothing with my pregnant wife and my 2.5-year-old son.
Wow.
So you wanna talk about, instantaneous lightning strike, evaporation, evisceration. That's what that was.
So
Nothing.
so so what was the feeling behind that? I mean, one of the things I always talk to my clients is that usually there's an image and then there's a feeling. There's so
Yes.
much to unpack here, though, Scott. I mean, because I love the fact, because I really want to rewind to the point where I want the listeners to understand what you said.
Yeah.
Is that you had an inspiration
Yes.
that was given to you,
Yes.
and this is the thing about it, is that a lot of the times we miss that because
Yes.
we we don't even catch it. I mean, it's like
We don't care. We don't believe it.
we don't believe it. And it's like, I wanted to talk a little bit about that, but at the same time, I mean, a lot is that you sat there. So now you're in this boardroom, they fired you, I guess. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, no, that's it. You're
And
fired.
then what?
So they weren't I should say they weren't physically in the room. The private equity firm was located in another city. It was on a conference call.
Okay.
And, I went and grabbed my stuff. What happened is I went and grabbed first of all, I was in shock. I actually didn't even believe it. I was like, "You can't fire me.
Right.
I'm the president. I mean, I started this." Yeah, I literally couldn't reconcile it. But that moment was followed that shock, if you will, was followed by, a moment that is, memorialized here in my office. It was followed by a moment where I left, and I didn't know where I was gonna go, and I'm driving down the interstate in Dallas, and I happened to look to my left, and I saw the mall, and I was reminded, looking at the mall on the clock, that my wife was inside, my pregnant wife with my 2.5-year-old son having a photography for some pictures made, and I decided to stop and walked inside and greeted them as if you and I are talking right now, Curtis. Gave my wife a kiss, told her I loved her, and, didn't say anything. I was hiding it very well like men do. shields were up. And I happened to lean against the table because my son was standing on it. He was only two and a half. And happened to lean against the table and he grabbed my face and turned it toward him. And about that time, the photographer took a picture. And I have that on my desk over here, or credenza, that picture, a picture that should have never happened. But
Right.
an hour before that, I was absolutely financially destroyed, professionally and personally. And so again, I set that up to say, when you ask the question, well, what happened after that?
Yes.
The obvious things, right? Rage, anger, scorched earth, burn the world down, take everybody with you, all of it,
Right.
right? But that didn't stay, right? It didn't stay because rage only gets you so far. And of course, I didn't have any money to fight with. What am I going to do?
Right.
Right. And so again, you go through these phases of depression and fear and anxiety and back to rage. And it's just this vicious cycle. And of course, one immediately wonders, wow, what was the pressure on your wife? You know? And again, I can't speak for other people, but for me, is I never stopped being dad to my son and being husband to my wife during that process because I refused. One thing I refused to do. And of course, she was mad as a hornet. Don't get me wrong. Okay. But less of it for me because it happened to us. It wasn't like it happened to me. She was as vested in this as
Oh,
I was.
absolutely. Yes.
So anyway, that's what was going on. And we stuck close and yeah, we had bad days and good days, right? But she never wavered in her unconditional love for her husband and vice versa. And that's one of the greatest gifts that we got as a young married couple is to have that type of tragedy, especially financial, right, happen. But again, I have to fast forward because I think it's important to also share the part of the story. Well, my God, how do you recover from this? That's the obvious
Right.
question. How do you?
And that was my next question.
Okay,
What shifted? What happened? How did you move from that? Right.
100%. And I think you're going to appreciate this, but it was a couple years later. And I was always asking the question, as you can imagine, Curtis, what happened?
Yes.
How did I get here? Why me? And by the way, don't think God and I didn't have some very direct conversations because I wanted an explanation. You know what I mean? I was upset, right?
And
Our
you had every
creator.
reason to be.
Yep. And that was one of the honestly the main questions that I would pray over and think about, hell, I'd cry about. You know what I mean? Is why would you ever give me something like that and then allow that to happen? Why? And then one day, and I don't remember where I was, I wish I did, but one day a single word came into my brain and it let all the water out. And you know what that word was, Curtis?
Was a word.
Stewardship.
I love it.
And I was like, stewardship? The heck's that got to do with anything? And I began thinking about it. I was like, oh my God, I thought I owned this idea. It was given to me. No, no, no. I was stewardship. It was supposed to be stewardship, not ownership.
Hmm.
And then I realized, power versus control. I thought I was in control. God gave me power. He's in control. Stewardship. I thought ownership. And so when I reconciled all of that, that was the domino effect for me is that for me, because God gave me a thought to be steward over and to foster and to nurture, there's no more promise than that than stewardship. And where that goes, it goes where it goes. If God
Right.
moved me, who knows? Maybe he moved me. Or maybe I wasn't managing it the way he expected and he moved me. I'll never know that this side of heaven, but it doesn't matter because he made me steward over it, not owner over it.
Right. Right. Right.
And then so that was the big reconciliation for me. And it tied around that whole I thought I was in control. And so no, God gave me the power over something that he gave me stewardship over.
Right.
And I confuse that with ownership and control, and, that is not the case, and so I have deeply learned that lesson of being a good steward, and don't reach into a bucket and grab a handful of water because there's nothing there. Yeah.
Well, what kind of comes to mind with when you were sharing that part is it is part of the legit mindset, right? Of learning. One of the things that the subconscious mind needs to allow the energy to actually move through it is a
Yeah.
learning.
Yes.
And basically, and that's what people and you have to start asking the right questions, because
Right.
I was, sometimes why questions are not as good as a what question and a how question. And the
Mhm.
reason why why questions, it kind of could take you down, down a rabbit hole where you
Right.
start to blame and like, oh my God, I didn't. Basically, it's more like the what and how questions allow God now to feed you with
Yep.
more insight on what to look like for the future. And I love the fact that the learning for you was the fact that there was stewardship.
Yeah.
And that basically you can carry that through your life and keep moving forward with it. And that
Yeah.
basically, and so
It
once you,
permanently changed me. The stewardship permanently changed me.
I love it. I love it. And so now you basically, for me, I'm looking at it as like the expanding and transformation part of it.
Right.
Now, how will you now transform from that? I mean, you
Right.
got a great learning, and now you're going to expand and transform. How did you transform from
Yeah. So I would, again, love to say that when this occurred in my life, that that was the last wake up to die moment.
that?
And it wasn't. But with every one of these events, that war chest of gifts that were given to me, that I earned, that I learned, right? That war chest of gifts, I carried those forward and they better prepared me to handle the next mountain and the next valley.
Yes.
And I didn't have the same reactions. I didn't have the same whys, right? As a matter of fact, back then, when I say back then, in the early parts of my life, I like to tell people that I knew God had a name, but that was as much as I knew. Okay. But in my life, all of these tragedies didn't make me get further from God. They drew me closer to
Absolutely.
God. Right. And that getting closer, I stopped asking actually the questions of why, because I didn't think why was important anymore. I didn't really care about why anymore. Right. So I evolved to using your mindset, right, in your training into, wow, what should I learn from this? And how do I carry that forward? Right. To be impactful to people around me, my family, myself. But one of the most important things that I wanted to do for me, this was the transformation.
Okay.
And I'm going to use a saying that I can't remember who said this, but the saying was, I once went out to change the world, and now I'm wise and I'm going to change myself.
I love it.
And so that's really the massive transformation for me, is that where I am today and have been, I guess, the last 10 years, is focusing on transforming myself so that I'm rightly aligned internally. And then the benefit of that is the gift I give to myself. And in turn, all those around me, my neighbors, my friends, my colleagues, my wife, my son, my daughter, my sister, that how my behavior towards them, but it's because I'm right inside. It's not about getting right outside. I've chased the outside before, right? And that's an empty hole. But that's
Right.
the transformation for me, was being right with myself, and then the benefits that came from that with everybody else.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That brings up the analogy for me is flying. When you're on an airplane, the stewardess come on or the steward come on and says, "Hey, in just in case the
Yeah.
airplane loses pressure, the mask will fall down. Be sure to put the mask on the other person
No,
first.
no. You
No,
put
no,
it on
no.
yourself first.
Put it on yourself
Yeah,
because you can't help anyone else.
that's right. That's right.
And what you're telling me is really powerful with the audience to understand is that true alignment, true power, and true empowerment for others is when you become the best version of yourself. Now you have something to give. Sometimes people empty themselves out to the point where they have nothing else for themselves
Yep,
and they feel empty because they are.
we do. We see this in moms a lot, right? We love our moms. Our
Yes.
moms shape generations, right? They shape young men, young women. And I was sharing this with a mom recently, and I think you would appreciate this. This is another transformative part of my wake up to die again moments. Curtis, I think you'll agree with this. The world screams at us, you just got to add more to get
Mm,
what you want.
yeah.
Just got to add more. This is about addition, right? But when you figure out, man, that's just a freaking lie. Well, if it's not about addition, does that mean it's 0? I get nothing?
No.
No. Happens to be the exact opposite of that. It's not about addition, it's about subtraction. What does that mean? Well, that means that in all of our lives, there are things that we need to reduce, we need to stop. It's more about what you need to stop than it is about you needing to go do something.
Yeah.
One of my Scottisms, my wife, she scratches her head when I say this sometimes, but I'll say, this is directed at me about subtraction. There is no distance I have to travel. There's no possession I have to have, no vacation I need, no bonus I need, no income I need to get what I'm looking for. It's exactly where I'm standing.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Basically, and I love the fact that you mentioned the word subtraction because most of the time we look for things outside of ourselves to add to it. A story once again. I love this story of Elijah when he was running from Jezebel, and then he came to the desert, and he was found himself on the broom tree. He was broke, busted, and disgusted. He was depressed, and then and the angels came and fed him and gave him some energy, and then all of a sudden he found himself face to face with God, and he was looking
Yep,
for God in the noise, in the
that's right.
earthquakes, in the fires,
Yep.
but he wasn't there.
Nope,
He
wasn't
was
there.
in he was in the
And
silence.
yep. Yeah, we
We
in our kitchen, there's a saying, I rarely see it, but I happen to see it this weekend. That's why I want to mention it. But I forgot what verse this is, but it's a famous verse. It's "Be still and know that I am God." Guess what? That's all about subtraction.
It's all about subtraction. It's all about it's like we just sometimes our greatest moments will not come in the noise. Sometimes
Yeah.
we're on Facebook and we're on social media
Yep.
thumbing and looking for the answers and
Yeah.
all of this stuff. Just be still.
You go. Yep.
And that's one of the most frightening things for most of us. We
Correct.
can't stand the silence.
That's correct.
But that's where we can truly connect with God or universe or whatever you call it. That's where we have that special connection,
Yep.
and where we just need to stop for a moment and connect. So, real quick, Scott, tell us now, what can you give us? I mean, how
Yeah.
can we now integrate this for the listeners? Now, tell them one step or two steps or
Sure.
something that they can do to kind
Sure.
of integrate all of what we talked about today.
Sure. We unpacked a lot, and I'll boil down a couple things that are constantly on my mind, and especially this one of subtraction. And I should have closed the gap when I mentioned single or moms earlier,
Right. Go
um,
ahead.
but I'll close that gap answering this question. You know, moms have this special gift of somehow doing more than it seems like humanly possible, right? They need a third arm and two more legs, right? And while this is true of moms, this is true of men as well. Here's a method I'd like to challenge you with in terms of practicing subtraction. Okay. Sometimes subtraction can be like you were talking about, Curtis, is the technology that you're holding in your hand, right? That needs to be a subtraction. If you need to make a phone call, that's fine. But I'm not the first one to tell you that you need to put that technology down. You need to subtract.
Right.
And I'm going to speak to myself here. When I wanted to do an Ironman, okay, there was a question I had to ask myself. And that question was, Scott, what are you willing to sacrifice?
Mm.
I thought, well, it's a great question. Well, I'm willing to sacrifice TV and I'm going to do my workouts. I had this long list of things, right, Curtis? That wasn't the real question I was asking myself. No, I get all that, Scott. That's kind of a must. You're going to have to do those things. But what are you really willing to sacrifice? And I really thought long and hard about that for weeks. And the answer came to me running one day. And the answer is I'm going to have to sacrifice me.
Wow.
All right. So to your audience, my challenge today is if you want to find more of yourself, I hope you hear this. If you want to find more of yourself, it's through subtraction. Because the more I sacrifice myself, Scott Lackey, the more of myself I find. That's my advice. You have to think about that.
No, that's powerful. I love it. I love it. I love the fact that you're talking about sacrifice. And I think about it in these terms too, Scott, is like we're going to either pay the price or invest in ourselves, right? And this is why I say what I say, is that one of my goals is to be healthy and vitalized and strong, right?
Yep.
So I have a choice. And I decided to invest in myself. So I have a trainer.
Mm,
I eat 80% good. I work out 3 to 4 days a week because I'm making an investment in me. And I'm fortunate and I'm blessed the fact that I'm 61, not taking any medications.
wow.
I'm investing, or
Right.
I can pay the price.
Yeah.
And the
You're also
price
answering
is,
the question, what are you willing to sacrifice?
what am I willing to sacrifice? What am I willing to sacrifice? And I love the fact that you like, what am I willing to sacrifice to get what I want? And it's more than just, like you said, putting down the phone.
Yeah.
That's a start.
Yep.
But the real question is like, what's my true value?
Yep.
Not only for me, because if I'm investing in me, then I'm investing for my family. I'm investing for other individuals. The reason I do what I do is now I can come to you with energy,
That's right.
or I can come to you like, oh my God, another day I'm barely making it, right?
Mm,
So I love the fact of subtraction. And that's kind of what I do even in my practice. I tell people, I'm not going to be adding more things to your plate. We want to subtract the things that no longer serve you, because that's the most important thing. Scott, man, it is great. So tell me a little bit about, before we leave, you've
sure.
been oh my God, we can keep talking. We can maybe offset, we'll just have a conversation. But yeah, so tell the audience now, I know you got a book coming out and they can find you on the website. Tell them a little bit about how they can find you, how they can connect with you.
Thank you very much, Curtis. It's website's very easy. It's my name, scottlackie.com, scottlackie.com. And the book launches on Thursday, May the 14th. I can't mention names right now, but I have one national endorsement that is going to be known to many. This book, Curtis, again, it is a book that will meet people where they are. And what that means is if you're waking up right now, if you're a listener to Curtis's podcast and you wake up every day just to die again, this is a journey. This is a book worth reading about. So this is not the 7 steps to get better, and there's not 19 subtractions. Okay, that is not what's in this book. I think people that have read this book already and given me feedback have told me, Scott, I live my own life through your stories. Your stories are yours, but I lived my life. I understand. I know what I need to do now. So if you're feeling that, or conversely, if you're on your journey right now and you're waking up to die again, but it's a gift that you have, that you breathe air in your lungs every morning. You can find that on May the 14th on Amazon, and or you can pre-register on scottlackie.com with your email address, and you'll be the first to know. And I couldn't be more excited also, Curtis, to make sure that one of those lands in your hand, because we probably going to need to have another conversation when you hear some of these other stories that you haven't heard about.
Probably will. Like I said before, it's all about setbacks, heartbreaks, and failures, and how now we can overcome them. Guys, if this resonated with you today, uh, feel free to kind of reach out and send Scott a message, and also share with someone else. Someone else definitely is on this journey and they're looking for something. They're looking for that one thing. And this might be the one thing that
Mm.
actually jolts them to make their next step. All the stuff that Scott mentioned today will be in the show notes, where you can definitely reach him and be able to connect with him one way, form, or the other. Scott, number one, we appreciate you, man, and we thank you for being a part of the show.
Well,
Also,
thank you for inviting me. This means a lot, Curtis, to actually have this dialogue. We've been waiting to do this, and it worked out today. And so thank you very much.
you're so welcome. Number one, guys, thank you once again for tuning in to the Legit Mindset. Today's episode inspired you, like I said before. Share it with a friend or leave a review. We'll really appreciate that. If you're ready to uncover your own blind spots and elevate your potential, book a free clarity call on bespokehumanpotentialcoaching.com. Remember, real stories, real setbacks, real growth. That's the legit way. Make it a great day.